The truth is, actions speak louder than words.
Let's take care of funding the NIH, cancer research for our children.
Turn it on for the children who are awaiting clinical trials at the National Institutes of Health.
When you have somebody young and have a whole life that potentially could be ahead of that child, I don't think there are many things as a priority for us as human beings or this federal government to put an emphasis on and fund.
My daughter died from childhood cancer. Right now in this country, there's a lot of dialogue about what that looks like and what that means. Our elected officials are talking about it. This country's talking about it. I think it's important that we have that dialogue, and I'm encouraged by it, but that dialogue alone means nothing. Our children are dying, and it's not okay.
Do whatever you want with this, but I just have to say it. Talk is bullshit. We need action.
We should be able to harness their words and be able to stand up as a community and say, during this crisis, you made a big deal out of the lack of funding for childhood cancer research. Let's hope you remember what you said, and let's ask them to work with us as a community to change the status quo and make sure that we address the long-term funding issue for children's cancer research, not just the immediate budget crisis.
Tell them this is a priority. If you tell them, and if a sufficient number of people tell them this is a priority, they will make it a priority. It's all about figuring out what their constituents care about and then being responsive.
It really is important. It's not just a sad story. It's a story that can turn into a good story if there's enough awareness spread about it.
At the end of this film, we will tell you exactly how you can take a stand for these children in a way that will make a big difference.
Because we see when the general public is involved and when people take a stance on something, how amazing it is.
It takes so little to take a stand, and it means so much if 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million people take a stand. It would just transform pediatric cancer research.
And a transformation is desperately needed. The truth is that our government spends billions of dollars a year on cancer research, but very little goes directly to childhood cancer research.
It clearly needs to be a national priority. If the federal government doesn't do it, there really isn't enough profit in it for the private sector to take this on and to accomplish this objective of putting an end to childhood cancer.
And the government has millions and billions of dollars set aside for cancer research, but so little of it is spent on children. It's very little, a fraction.
The National Cancer Institute, part of the NIH, funds most of the work that takes place in the country with respect to childhood cancer research. Over the past few years, their budget has been shrinking. That puts childhood cancer patients and childhood cancer research at much greater risk.
It's not fair that us kids get so little from the world.
We're the starting of adults. Adults are adults. They're now adults. Kids are kids. We can't do things for ourselves.
It gets me kind of angry. People should care much more about it because kids are really important to the future. Without kids, we won't have adults.
And my biggest fear is that if I possibly don't make it.
I do want to fight it, but I just don't want me to die. I just want to stay alive.
Childhood cancer is a leading cause of death by disease, and treatment options are very limited.
And I looked at them and I said, is it because there's no research? And they said, yes.
For the doctors to look at you and say, we're at the end of the road, you want to punch them in the face, but it's like, come on. There's got to be something that we can do.
If people really knew what was going on with little kids, maybe that funding would change.
I don't think the public seems concerned because I don't think they know. It wasn't until Claire got diagnosed and we were thrown into this world of cancer that we realized how little is going towards it.
I've never seen a more challenging time for very important research to get funded.
You know, this is something that is doable. There's so much that we know, so much science we know. It's not like a impossible dream.
And that means we've got to make sure that it's a sufficient budgetary priority that they do have those resources.
But time is of the essence.
We cannot sit here and wait for the next 10 years. In 10 years, more children will die. More of the patients that I treat will die. And I cannot take it.
Get research out there, get new trials available to our kids as soon as possible is a matter of life and death.
Patients come to us always with a clock. We're talking about months to a couple of years, so time is absolutely important.
We need to look at ways that are going to accelerate the timeline, and that has to happen with all hands on deck.
And the hands we need belong to you. You have the power to set off a chain of events that will lead to more funding for childhood cancer research.
We've seen human nature in people come out through this path, and people want to help people, and people want to make it better for others. It gives people a cause, it gives people a good feeling.
I think if every single person knew 7 people die of pediatric cancer a day, not a week, a day, everybody would help.
This is not something that just happens to people and you should feel sorry for them. This is something that happens to people and you can do something about. This is a call to action.
To make a difference for children with cancer, please share this film on all of your social media networks. Awareness is key. Next, go to thetruth365.org. There you will find 3 main sections, each with a specific action step that will help bring us closer to a cure. Our focus is the petition. The right to petition is one of the fundamental freedoms provided by the First Amendment to the Constitution. To show your support for children with cancer, please read and sign the petition on our site. You can also print a petition form and collect in-person signatures. These will be added to the online totals, and all signatures will be hand-delivered to our elected leaders at a future date. By taking these steps, children with cancer will finally get the attention they need from those who control what gets funded and what does not.
We're going to make it happen. We're going to develop them from the bench to the bedside. The sooner we can get to it, as I said, the clock cuts in many different ways. The sooner we can deal with it, the sooner we can solve the big problem.
I want to live because someday I might make it to the Olympic gymnastics, and I really want to represent the USA. I just wish, that we could at least live out our childhoods. If we could live to be like 30.
I want to grow up and be somebody, be an adult, pass away, my grandkids sitting next to me.
When I grow up, I want to be a nurse or a doctor, because they told me a lot of information about myself.
If I had one wish, I would wish for the cure to cancer. Yeah. That's what I would wish for.